Now we will discuss inquiry based learning, how it looks, sound and feels. How does inquiry lesson differs from traditional approach? In general, the traditional approach to learning is focused on mastery of content with less emphasis on the development of skills and the nurturing of inquir- inquiring attitude. The current system of education teacher centered, with teacher focused on giving out information about what is known. Students are the receiver of information, and the teacher is the dispenser. Much of the assessment of the learner is focused on the importance of one right answer. Traditional education is more concerned with preparation for the next grade level in school success than with helping a student learn to learn throughout life. What is inquiry and why do it? Inquiry based learning. The inquiry approach is more focused on using and learning content as means to develop information processing and problem solving skills. The system is more student centered. With the teacher as a facilitator of learning, there is more emphasis on how we come to know and less on what we know. Students are more involved in construction of knowledge through active involvement. The more interested will the more interested and engaged students are by subject or project, the easier it will be for them to construct in-depth knowledge of it. Learning becomes almost effortless when something fascinates students and reflects their interest and goals. Definition from students. When you do stuff that is real, it is like projects and things that take a long time. When kids work in groups or with partners and make big things, it's fun. 5 characteristics of inquiry based learning. Inquiry based learning is a difficult thing to define. There are characteristics that educators agree are presenting in all most inquiry based lessons. The following is list of 5 main component of IQBL inquiry based learning. Bloom's taxonomy number 1. Inquiry based learning asks questions that come from higher level of Bloom taxonomy. We all remember comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, and evaluation. While those are kind of metacognition, classifying the questions teacher asks becomes be, becomes an even more significant thing as the teacher sets the learning environment and expectations. Bloom taxonomy knowledge number 1, number 2 understanding, number 3 application, number 4 analysis, number 5 synthesis, number 6 evaluation. Number 1 knowledge. Arrange, define, duplicate, label, list, memorize, name, order, recognize, relate, recall, repeat, reproduce, state. Number 2 comprehension. Classify, describe, discuss, explain, express, identify, indicate, locate, recognize, report, restate, review, select, translate. Number 3 application. Apply, choose, demonstrate, dramatize, employ, illustrate, interpret, operate, practice, schedule, sketch, solve, use, write. Number 3 application. Apply, choose, demonstrate, dramatize, employ, illustrate, interpret, operate, practice, schedule, sketch, solve, use, write. Number 4 analysis. Analyze, apprise, calculate, categorize, compare, contrast, criticize, differentiate, discriminate, distinguish, examine, experiment, question, test. Number 5 synthesis. Arrange, assemble, collect, compose, construct, create, design, develop, formulate, manage, organize, plan, prepare, propose, set up, write. Number 6 evaluation. Apprise, argue, assess, attach, choose, compare, defend, estimate, judge, predict, rate, core, select, support, value, evaluate. Number 2 ask questions that motivate. Inquiry based learning involves questions that are interesting and motivating to students. We all know that how excited kids when we ask them to write book reports, when they ask to present our view as news anchor that will be videotaped. The feeling changes. We not merely entertaining our students. Life possesses problem in real everyday context. By guiding students through those same scenarios, we allow them to learn solve problems in supported environment with the help their peers and their teacher. 3. Utilizes wide variety of resources. Inquiry based learning utilizes a wide variety of resources so student can gather information from opinions and form opinions. Inquiry in the classroom. The internet is just not a safe place we would like to be. We have the responsibility of keeping our student away from offensive material and safe from other uses. We can do by selecting sites ahead of time, reviewing the links of those pages, and providing a hot list of sites that students allowed to look for information. Number 4, teacher as a facilitator. Teacher play a new role as a guide or facilitator. Standard classroom teacher provide a list of things to fill, write as paragraph. IB inquiry based learning classroom. What would you want to know? List question, provide resources, guide a product that shows what they have learned. Teacher as a guide. What does facilitating a class really means? Rather than teach content, you will manage team member interaction so that teams stay focused and make progress with your careful encouragement. Each team problem plan of action and outcome will emerge on its own. The unique product of its member collective strength and interest in your role of facilitator, you will begin briefing students on their projects they will be doing when the teamwork begins. You will spend most of your time observing a team members that determine what problem they are having working together and completing their assignments. 5. Meaningful product come out of inquiry based learning. Playing guitar, researching with microscope, playing and manipulating things, creating things with clay, and doing painting on page. Learning in the classroom, cooperative learning, teamwork, excitement, presenting, movement. Cooperative learning is very important part of inquiry based learning. Interactive interaction between kids gives new roles to kids, excitement, discovery, aha, celebrate learning, presentation, communication skills, language, movement. 5 kind of questions needed to be asked in inquiry based learning. Inference questions. Number 2, interpretation questions. Number 3, transfer questions. Number 4, questions about hypotheses. Number 5, reflective questions. The Art of Questions by Denise Wolf, research project of the Rockefeller Foundation. Inference questions. Ask student to go beyond the immediately available information. Ask student to look for clues, examine them, and decide if they have role in the question. The act of reasoning from factual knowledge or evidence, inductive reasoning given detailed, concrete factual information of the learner, from sniffling boots, clear sky. For example of inference question, what conclusion can you draw by looking at this photograph? How did the author feel about the character in the story? Interpretation questions. Ask student to predict what consequences may occur as a result of given scenario. Ask student to combine past knowledge of the situation and new factual information. Examples: you found the Sport Illustrated actually had more tobacco ads than any other magazines we looked at. What does that say about Sports Illustrated? We read and loved 2 books by Hale. What pattern did you see that you think might be presented in the 3rd book? Transfer questions. Ask students to take their knowledge and apply it to new situations. Ask students to expand their thinking. Examples: we found many patterns in math today. Now let's look at our language arts lesson on adverb. Let's see what patterns you find there. We learned how to make inspiration webs from paragraphs in our textbook. Now let's try to going to the other way and making a web and then writing a paragraph from it. Questions about hypotheses. Ask students to predict outcomes and carry out tests to discover new knowledge. Questions are often seen in science but belong in all disciplines. Examples: how can we find out if energizer batteries really last the longest? Reflective questions. Ask students to look again at the beliefs Ask students to look again at the beliefs they have and the evidence that supports them. Lead situations sorry Lead students back into investigation. Example: how do you really know that there are no aliens out there? How do we know that the show on the TV was telling the truth? Where do you begin? Examine your lessons, listen to the questions you ask, start with small project and slowly expand. Remember, children who are not used to thinking may not know how to approach problems. Be the guide. Planning an inquiry lesson. Thinking of a topic or standard you might to teach in your area. Number 2, write down several questions you might ask to motivate your students. Number 3, label the type of questions. It is as explained in this PowerPoint presentation. Inquiry based learning in classroom. Student doing inquiry based learning. Students view themselves as learner in the process of learning. They look forward to learning. They demonstrate a desire to learn more. They seek collaborative They seek collaborate and work cooperatively with teacher and peers. They are more confident in teaching in learning, demonstrate a willingness to modify ideas and take calculated risk and display appropriate skepticism. Students accept an invitation to learn and willingly engage in an exploration process. They exhibited curiosity and ponder observations. They move around selecting and using the materials they need. They confer with their classmates and teacher about observation and questions. They try out some of their own ideas. Students arise questions, propose explanations, and use observations. They ask questions verbally and through actions. They use questions that lead them to activities generate further questions or ideas. They observe critically as opposed to casually looking or listening. They value and apply questions as an important part of learning. They make connections to previous ideas. Students plan and carry out learning activities. They design ways to try out their ideas, not always expecting to be told what to do. They plan ways to verify, extend, confirm, or discard ideas. They carry out activities by using materials, observing, evaluating, and recording information. They sort out information and decide what is important. They, they see details, detect sequences and events, notice change, and detect differences and similarities. Students communicate using a variety of methods. They express ideas in a variety of ways, including journals, drawing and reports, graphing, and so forth. They listen, speak, and write about learning activities with parents, teacher, and peers. They use the language of learning, apply the skills of processing information, and develop their own ground rules appropriate for the discipline. Student critique their learning practices. They use indicators to assess their own works. They recognize and report their strengths and weaknesses. They reflect on their learning with their teacher and their peers. Inquiry based learning. The importance of inquiry based learning is that students learn how to continue learning. This is something that this is something they can take with them throughout life, beyond parental help and security, beyond a textbook, beyond the time of a master teacher, beyond school, to a time when they will often be alone in their learning. Thank you so much for listening Inquiry Based Learning.